My name is Ian Brannigan. I'm the head of regional development for the Western Development Commission, but that doesn't really matter. What matters, I think, is the creative sector. And I know you're out there, I just can't see you at the moment because of the spotlight. I'm going to take a few moments, if I may, first of all, to reciprocate some of the comments. I'm sorry it's boring if you don't know it, but James said we've been on a journey. Myself and Pauline have certainly been on it for about 5, 6, 7 years now in the creative economy. And he absolutely used the metaphor, shine a spotlight, again. He's right, because some of the comments I've just heard from Johnny and some of the other contributors there, I think speak to a thing that I've seen when I first came here from the UK, which was, I won't use something as strong as marginalisation, but certainly it was necessary to articulate that the creative economy was really important. Not just the individuals in it and the people who participated in it as sort of clients, but to all of us in terms of industry, quality of life, and also for opportunity. I've been really happy to say that that was one of the key focuses we tried to do. I've been very heartened to hear people ask for us to make presentations to county councils. Ironically, we've been doing that. But as anybody knows, if you don't shout, you're never heard. So it's really important that we keep that message up. What I will say today is that when I said I'd reciprocate some of the feelings I heard earlier, it's really important to notice that when you see vehicles like EU funding, it's sometimes a bit of a clunky thing. But really the partnerships we have with Northern Ireland, with Kemi Tornio, with Eve Asterboten, with NUIG themselves, pre-Whitaker, have been essential to creating the dynamic, seriously, for moving this forward. I mean, today we're at a point where the creative industries are now seen as a valid industrial sector in Ireland. They're going to come out in works that are now emerging from the departments. They don't know the answer, but for once they're hearing the question. And the question is how do we make this bigger and better? And I think we're going to see a lot of that today in what Pauline and others will present in terms of the international opportunities. Let me touch on one more thing before I get out of this heat. And by the way, that's why this didn't work. It's nothing to do with anything else. Just to say that we talked about artists being given over the reins. I'm paraphrasing your comments there. I'm sorry. I'm blinded here. And I think that's really important because I'm a kind of a scientist and then a business person. It's my upbringing. And one of the things I was always told was listen to the market, listen to the client. And we don't do that enough with creatives and artists and all of that. We tend to think that they just happenstance. And I think what Pat has done and others is try to say that's not true. This is really fundamental to us growing up as a society. And I do genuinely believe that because I did inward investment in the UK and we wanted Gateshead and the industrial Newcastle to be seen as a cool place. So we put in the Baltic and we put in other things, stuff that made it look a really cool thing. And what happened? Lawyers and financiers suddenly started appearing on the riverside. And 5 years earlier, you would have needed protection to walk down there. That's genuinely the change you can make. And I hope Derry sees some of that, by the way, if anyone's involved with that. So what we're trying to do is work with connecting you into the mainstream, is work to have the local authorities understand that this is an indigenous sector that can be global, is work to have people understand, I think Johnny touched on it again, that as well as evoking place, you can create a new place, and that's the international links that you make with people from Scandinavia and other areas. And I think that's something that this project really is trying to get to. I'm not saying that we're completely there, but there are microloans now out there for creative people, from people in this region. That's something that solves working capital. It means you can't look at grants, you've got to look at businesses. But these are designed to do things for us help ourselves, and I think that's really important. I think that's enough of a speech, if it is a speech. I'd just like to sort of clear the way now for Pauline, and again, thank you once again for your attention, and hopefully during the day we'll get to talk about other things. Thank you very much.
Okay, as Ian mentioned, I work with Ian in the Western Development Commission, and we're one of the partners on the CreativeEdge project. And the element we were looking at really was this issue of how to support creative businesses to trade internationally, how to access international markets, how to sell overseas. So I'm going to give you a little brief overview of what we did in that, which was to develop a website called MyCreativeEdge.eu. And then I'm going to hand you over to Alan Rowe, who is Managing Director of Arrow Digital Strategy, which is a company based here in County Galway. And he's going to really go through, I suppose, some of the practical issues of what it takes for a creative business to trade internationally, to work internationally, what it takes to win business in other countries. So I'm just going to start off. The Western Development Commission, we've been involved in quite a few areas supporting the creative sector. And one of them is a microloan fund. And if anyone is interested in that, I suppose we can provide a bit more information afterwards. And there's some flyers outside. But the main thing I suppose we've been working on is this Creative Edge, MyCreativeEdge.eu. And essentially it's an export platform. It's a website that allows creative businesses to create their own profile, to promote themselves and showcase themselves internationally. And it's open to any creative sector business. If you're a micro business, if you're an SME, if you're freelancing, if you're a recent graduate looking for work, looking for freelance, you can go on and for free create a profile of yourself on this website. We've 12 different sectors, and Pat would have touched on some of these. So we range from architecture, fashion and jewellery, arts, photography. So if you're based in any of these, you can be on the site. And basically, the core of the site are profile pages of businesses. And they're organised through what we call the Creative Showcase, which is basically profiles of creative businesses that can be searched by region. And it covers the 4 regions of the Creative Edge project. So it covers the west of Ireland, the seed area of Northern Ireland, Västerbotten and Northern Finland. And there's another section, Employ a Creative, which is for young talent. And one of the things we're hoping is that the MyCreativeEdge site will allow young talent to find opportunities to get work experience, to get business, maybe to set up their own business, but to make connections with established businesses. And we also have a members area of the site where we have some resources and information for creative businesses, particularly looking at exporting for the first time. And we have a members forum where we're hoping increasingly to allow the businesses across the regions to network. So that's just a very quite poor quality snapshot of the part of the Creative Showcase page, which shows how these are all profiles that are up on the site at the moment. And they're really the images that are uploaded by the creative businesses are the heart of the site. So far we have 645 people signed up. Not all of them have created their profile yet, and I do know 1 or 2 of the people who have not published yet are in this room, so no names mentioned. But we have 293 profiles currently up on the website. I was really hoping we'd hit the 300 by the conference today, but unfortunately not quite there yet. But we will definitely by Christmas. So if we look at what sectors they're in, the main thing you find is that nearly everybody picks more than one sector. And I think this is quite an important feature of the creative sector. People aren't really doing one thing. They're doing lots of things. They're doing different activities. There's a lot of cross-cutting. So you can see that design, arts, crafts, digital media are quite high. But you see that a lot of people are probably have picked crafts, arts and design because they are all relevant to what they're doing. And if we look across the 4 regions, we can see there's about 148 in the west of Ireland, and we can see the distribution of the published profiles so far. And we're aiming to balance that out a little bit over time. So you don't have to really look at or read the detail of this, but I just looked at what were the most viewed profiles in each of the 4 regions. And I think the main thing is to just look at the diversity of sectors that are the most viewed. So we've got people who are illustrators, script writers, jewellers, knitwear designers, theatre groups. So I think there's a real mix of what's up on the site and what people are interested in, what people are looking at. And that's the most viewed in the west of Ireland is Adele McBride Knitwear up in Donegal. And if any of you watched the Craft Master series on RTE a while ago, she was the mentor for the knitting section of that. Sanna Nikkonen, I probably have pronounced that name a little bit wrong, is the most viewed in northern Finland, and she's an illustrator and an artist. So how do you create a profile? It's quite simple. You go to the site, you register, you receive a confirmation email, then you get your username, password, create your material, you go on, you create and publish your profile, and that's it. That's basically how you create it. And if anyone wants to discuss it afterwards, I'll be around for the rest of the day. So I suppose there's one thing, you create a website, you get people onto it, how do you promote it? How do you market it? There's no point having a showcase site if nobody is looking at the showcase. I mean, that's the ultimate aim, is to promote exports and to actually have the work of these regions shown internationally. So I suppose we've been doing online and offline. We have a series of brochures, there's some outside, and we're distributing them in venues across the regions. We've taken online ads, some banner ads. We actually took one on the Galway Arts Festival easy this year. We have a social media presence, and we've been asking people to put these little badges, I'm on MyCreativeEdge, on their own sites as well. So this is just an example of some of the marketing we've been doing. We've had some Facebook ads trying to recruit creatives, so trying to encourage people to join the site. That was during July and again in October. And then really from September, we started focusing on trying to attract buyers to the site, trying to get people onto the site. So we've used Facebook ads and Google AdWords, and we've targeted them in Ireland, also in London and Manchester in the UK, in Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, and New York, in Helsinki. So we're really trying to look at places where there would be a market for creative products and creative businesses from our regions. So that's sort of ongoing at the moment. And if you want to see sort of the impact of that, this is the top line there, the number of visits to MyCreativeEdge, and it was launched in around mid-June. So in the 5-month period, we've had in total about 28,000 visits to the site. And you can see, I suppose, the effect of the advertising. In July was the first time we did any online advertising. You should see there was a bit of an increase. Then in September, we really started our advertising for buyers and to get buyers to visit the site. We had a little pause at the end of September and started again into October, and you can see the increase again. That little dip, if you're wondering, is because we had to move server. There's always technical difficulties, and we had to shut everything down for a little while. But we're back on track again now. So if we look at where people are visiting the site from, just over half of the visits to the site have come from Ireland. But I suppose what's quite important in terms of how we've targeted our marketing is that the second and third most important sites for visits are the US and England. And that is where we've been targeting our online ads in cities in England and the US. So I think that 70% of all visits have come from the United States. It is quite an important indicator there. So finally, this is the most viewed from Västerbotten. We think it may be to do with the gentleman in the Thor outfit there who is attracting all those views to his page. That's not actually him, that is an actor. And the most viewed in Northern Ireland are the Armagh Rhymers, who are a theatre group. But I suppose these are just examples of the mix of type of businesses that are on the site. We have some quite technical businesses. For example, this is a film director. We've got graphic designers. We've also got folk theatre groups, artists, and so on. So just at the end of this session, we'd like to have a bit of a discussion and a bit of a chat about promoting creative businesses to export. So during Alan's talk, and I suppose during the rest of the day, if you just have a little bit of think about what you think are the main challenges for creative businesses in trying to get into export markets and trying to trade internationally, doing joint projects with businesses in other countries, tendering for business in other countries, doing exhibitions in other countries and so on. And how could they best be supported? And also, if you have any ideas about how we can develop MyCreativeEdge into the future, that would be great. So that's the end of my talk, and I will hand you over to Alan to sort of go through their experience of a creative business developing into export markets, and then at the end you can ask questions and we can have a bit of a discussion in general about the exporting creative businesses. Thanks.
Hello, Taibhdhearc, agus fáilte, is Michelle Norua, stúrtóir banistíochta ó Arrow, táimidí I leathair sna forbacha chun na Gaillimhe agus tófig agin I London chuma. So my name is Alan Rowe, and I'm the managing director of Arrow, and we're an internet digital strategy company. We're based in Forbo, about 36 people working there, and we have 4 people working in London. So today I'm going to try to talk about our experience of winning business internationally, I suppose. Over 70% of our business now is coming out of this country, and that is sort of a gradual shift over the past 12 years for us. So most of the talk will sort of bring, I'll get into the detail of that. I'm going to give a little bit about our creative edge. I'm going to get into the opening up new international business, and then if there's any questions, etc. So who are we? We're 18th year in business. We've about 40 staff. We're, as I said, located in Galway and London. We just sort of 4 components of what we do. We have a very strong design team. About 8 people in that team, so very, very creative in terms of presenting visual online. Development team then back end, so they're the guys who do with booking engines, e-commerce systems, content management systems, etc. And again, there's a lot of creativity needed there to develop that, particularly around the functionality of them. Business services are the people who look after the clients, the project managers, the account managers, and that's a key part for us in terms of winning business internationally. Probably the single most important part for us. Then digital marketing, then we have a team of about 9 people who look after the online marketing, driving the business for our clients. We're very focused on the independent luxury consumer. I suppose that's a very important key, because for us to compete internationally, we can't provide everything to every market. We just have to go niche. So our focus is on the luxury independent consumer. So, and our biggest vertical channel for that are independent luxury hotels. So that's our main market. I'd say 70% of our clients are 5-star hotels, independently owned. So we're very strong in partnership programs. We work very closely with our clients in terms of not just building a website and launching it and then moving away from it, but actually helping them continue to grow their business online. So just to give a flavour of some of who our clients are, we work very closely with the Dorchester in London. They're probably one of the top hotels in the world, and all of the Dorchester Collection hotels. Hotel de l'Europe in Amsterdam is owned by the Heineken's, top hotel in Holland. Hotel Hasler in Rome is the #1 hotel in Rome. Chester Grosvenor, a superb hotel in Chester. We've just recently signed 3 5-star hotels in Colombia, actually. Myself and my wife Trina were there for 8 days. It was great. Very, very enjoyable, part of the fringe benefits of it. And it was very interesting. I might talk about how they approached us to win their business. The Elysium, which is a 5-star hotel in Cyprus, are a client of ours. And a few more. We've got Corday des Alpes, which is a luxury resort in Switzerland in the Alps. I'd love to go there. I haven't been there yet, but it's on the list. Beverly Hills Hotel, Hayfield Manor in Cork, a very good client for a long time. St James's, and a selection more. So we've about 250 clients for Arrow, and there's another project we're involved in called 5, which I might talk about, which is about 150 clients. So that's on that sort of side of it. Just quickly, just to look at, and I've just tried to highlight, we're a very technology-orientated company. I mean, internet, it's very technology, but it's very, very creative as well. And I just pulled out a couple of things that I feel, from our point of view, why are we winning business internationally? And typically, now at this stage, we're competing with companies who have maybe 1,000 or 1,500 employees. And what gives us the edge over them, a small little company basically in the west of Ireland? First and foremost, certainly is design. And what we focus on is trying to understand who our clients' customers are rather than the client themselves. So who is there? So going back to being niche, understanding the luxury consumer and how they work, has been a very important part for us, because when I'm presenting what we can do for you as a business, we talk about their customer all the time and how their customer engages, how their customer, the trends, and it really sets a good tone. We really get into them. Service is a key thing for us. Typically, and it's very interesting, I was at a presentation where we're very close to signing our first Asia Pacific client, and they met me in London, and they're very close to a hotel in London who they invited to attend. And they asked that person from our client, so why would you select Arrow? And he said, well, any of the top companies can design a top website, but none of the other top companies provide a service. Arrow provide a service, and if you want to be serious about this, you have to work with this company. So I was very proud of that moment, and I'd be very 99% there with that account. But service is huge, and it's an advantage for a small company like us. I'm the owner, myself and Trina are the owners of the business. We typically take the lead on sales, and when people are talking to us, they're talking to the owners of the business. So when you're competing against a company with 1,000 employees, and you're a small hotel in their world, they're dealing with probably a graduate who could be there, might be not, won't get back. It could be a month before anything is responded to. So service is huge for us and is a major, major factor in our success. We've put a lot of focus on that over the last couple of years, and Trina in particular has put a huge amount of work in terms of getting our service measurable. So we now have 85% of anything that comes into us is dealt with within 2 days. And I'd say the industry standard is a month, and that's a statement I can go into in a sales pitch and say service, 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 and we can live by it. So it's very important, and you need, for us, we need to have that edge. Another part of it is innovation. We spend an awful lot of money on innovation, way over the size of company we have, but we have to, because our ambition was always not to just compete locally. We started just in our spare bedroom in our house out in Furbo, and with 2 people. So 18 years later, we're a bigger company now, but we've always wanted to try to get out to the luxury consumer. That was always our target market. So every year we have to try to keep ahead of ourselves and keep ahead of a global competition, people who specialize in doing nothing but booking engines or email marketing software or building websites or marketing. We have to do all of this, so we spend an awful lot, and we have a lot of very good, built up a load of innovative items that when a hotel is looking to come to us, they can get an awful lot more for their bang for their buck, because we've got all these really, really functional, very creative components that help them, will help them better than our competition will. So that's the sort of key things on that. Getting into more into the, and again, I'm not getting into the creative side of what we do, because I think you deal with that later. I want to just try to share with you our experience of competing for business internationally, and so I'm going to stay focused on that. And what I did is I took our 80 of our clients that we've signed up over the last number of years. I tried to do a profile in terms of where did they come from, which is very interesting for me to do this actually. So I was delighted to have the opportunity. The sort of breakout of that is network. Is 44% of our clients come from our network, and that's hugely important. And in terms of the top end as well, they need to know who you are, and you have to be invited. It's very hard and it's very difficult, and it takes a lot of time to build up that network, and that's what we've been doing over the last 12 years. Is building up a knowledge of people in this space, and then they recommending us. Client recommendations or endorsements, and there's about 33% or a third of our clients that signed up came directly through that, and that's more to do with people like the Colombians, for example. They contacted us directly because the owners are based in London, and they're dealing with the company they have now, or before we took over the account, is one of the top international companies. So they have the budget for this. They weren't getting the service. And they benchmark a number of hotels in this space that they would see as the best, the Dorchester being one of, the Bel Air in Los Angeles is another, Hotel Hassler in Rome is another, and they're 3 of our clients. So then they rang our clients to see what was their experiences with Arrow. They gave them a great endorsement of our services, and then they contacted us. And it's one of the advantages that we have, and I think which most people have in the creative industry world, is that your work is very visual, it's very accessible. So, I've never heard of these people before, and they contacted me purely because in this space, our clients are there, visible for them to see, and then that starts the process. Now, it took us 14 or 15 months of negotiation to finalise, but we did, and they're a very good client. We'll be launching their websites now at the start of January, and that'll start the relationship. They also plan to grow as a group, so there's plenty of opportunity for us to win to new clients in locations in South America. So the endorsements is coming from that, very important for us. The internet itself, people just looking for you on the internet, believe it or not, it does happen, and we're delighted for it, albeit 7%, but it is very helpful, just people searching and finding you. Another one then is warm leads. Warm leads are more where we'd identify, we spend a lot of time doing this, and not so much now, but it's whereby you would look, we can analyse a hotel's position online visually, and also how it is positioned and how we can improve it. And we have a thing called Arrow Focus, which is sort of helps to identify weaknesses in their strategy, and we sort of send them through a little taster on that first, rather than just ringing them up saying, hi, do you want to meet? We say, we've identified a few weak areas in your business, and we have a full report on that, and I'd love to present it to you. So it's more from that side of it we come at it. But it surprises me, and that's the thing to note, I suppose, is that I would have expected that we'd win a lot more business through that mechanism, but we haven't. But it does open up. The one thing that has helped is that it really works with your network, because typically I'll send that through to the sales and marketing director, who are very keen and want to work with you, but they're not the decision maker. And then you're going into an owner maybe who has just got a relationship with somebody else, and they'll pick it. But you've won the decision maker, and a lot of our network has come through that warm lead. So while as you don't get business directly from it, you get it indirectly. So the next hotel that they move on to, they'll have you in the list to sort of come in and talk to them, and they'll tee it up better for you, and you'll win business. So it wins a lot of business for us indirectly. And everything else, nothing else really gets us any business. That's the main ways. It's all we know about. There's probably smarter ways to do it out there, but that's how we've done it to date, and it's working okay for us. I'm going to get in now to, I've sort of broken it up into the phases of how it's developed, because it hasn't all been the same. So I want to talk about, just because this might be useful to you as well. I mean, we're internationally, of the 18 years, we're 12 years or more with a base in London. We selected London because we both lived there for a period of time, and it's one of the 3 key tourist hubs in the world. So it was great for us to actually have access, also access in terms of flights, etc. You know, you can get over to London and back again within the same day. It's a long day, but it's doable and has been done many times. So from 2002 to 2008, we went from 0% of our turnover to 25% of our turnover in that period. So we set up a hot desk in Piccadilly. I had a very good client of ours in the Clarence, who were our first 5-star hotel, I think about 16 years ago. We did great work with them, and she was really pleased with what we did, and she opened up. She came with me to London for 2 days and set up 6 appointments for me, and of those 6 appointments we signed up 3 of us as clients. I've never had that since. It was a great 2 days. But it came because of the connection with the Clarence. They were a leading hotel of the world at the time, and she built up her own network. She shared it with me, and that's coming from working hard with them for 4 or 5 years beforehand and giving a great result to her. She was happy to do that. That opened the door. A huge amount of cold calling, knocking on doors, getting very little, coming second. The philosophy we developed in that stage was, if you can't win, can't come first in business, come second. Because again, similar to the example of the warm lead, you never know where if there's 3 people making a decision, if you get one of their votes, then that person will move, and you never know where an opportunity will open up. So we compete really, really hard for it. The others find that because I'm competing mostly with bigger companies, I'm competing against salespeople, and being the owner of the business, I'll work harder and longer and put more effort into a pitch. So that helps as well too. But the Irish network was as I said, with the case with the Clarence, that certainly helped. But in the main, I found, which was a bit surprising, we had a very good client base in Ireland, but in London in particular, they don't really rate hotels in Ireland as counting as anything. So, you leveraging off the brand wasn't very helpful. A thing to note as well too, which is very important, I think ties into what Pat was talking about, was a sense of place. When we were opening up the office in London, we did come through our name is in Irish, our address is in Irish, all our literature is in Irish, and would that be a challenge for us in a place like London? But we did feel very confident about Galway as a creative hub, and a place to bring people to, and when there's a need to do that. And we said we'd stick with our name, and it's worked very well for us, because it does identify you as being different. And when you're dealing with companies internationally, they want to deal with the best. I mean, the quote on HP, we want to go where the talent is. So they're used to, like the Colombians, they want the best company to do the work. They don't care if you're in Ireland. Well, actually, they think we're London, so they still do, That's okay. But, we'll compromise a little bit. But we do being located in the west of Ireland is very important for us. And also, a little bit over half of our international business comes from the UK. And I don't think I've ever been in a meeting in the UK with 3 people or more that there wasn't a very strong Irish connection. Either someone is from Ireland, their parents are from Ireland, their wife, it's amazing. And it does work. Not so much the start of the first few years. I think there was still, peace process wasn't bedded in. But now in the last 5 or 6, 7 years, I mean, they're volunteering their connection to you. And it does help, you still, like when we won the Dorchester collection, the key person there was an Irish person, but he did say to me, he says, you have to be better than everybody else, because I can't pick you because you're Irish, otherwise it reflects badly on me. So you have to be way better. But he gave you the opportunity, and he waved your flag, as long as you could show them and demonstrate that you had something there. So certainly being close to the UK is very important for us, and the Irishness is an important factor in that. We worked, like those few years was back and forth, whereas we didn't have a base there. I was servicing the UK office. We didn't have 40 people either, probably half that number of people. And we're winning business now and again. But when the recession kicked in here, 75% of our business was in Ireland, obviously, at the time. And our average client was spending maybe about 8,000 a year with us, and that dropped to 5 immediately. So we lost, it was like nearly $500,000 gone off our turnover straight away. So, we had to find a place for that to win business. It forced us to really, really look internationally, which we did for the next few years, which required me to be in London nearly full time. And also during that time, I'd like to we looked for any support we could get. The banks were closing down. We got good support from the WDC here, Enterprise Ireland, Udras na Gaeltacht, and it was very important for us during that period because we did suffer for those couple of years, I'm sure as every company did. We were in transition from being mostly Irish, doing business in Ireland, where genuinely with clients I've known for many years, they didn't have the money. They were struggling on every level and struggling to stay alive as a business. They didn't have it. And you couldn't not give them the service you were providing before. You just had to suck it up and say, well, okay, over time, we will get there. So the focus then moved to the UK, and having a base there was very helpful to us because we had a strong base. I've also discovered something else. In any space you're in, you need 5 good clients, and that's all you need. So once you're 5, they're comfortable enough once you've got 5 to talk about. So you didn't need 50 or 60 to get in after a space. 5 was plenty for us. So the Dorchester collection was an important one. That signed up roughly around that time, but I targeted that as a client, as an aspirational client. Wouldn't you love to win them? But we worked hard at it for 5 years to be given the opportunity. And it was through a client of ours who comes, his mother comes from Furbo actually. And he's been a great help to me in terms of winning business, but he knew the revenue director of the Dorchester collection and harassed him into meeting with me. And he thought he was meeting me just to get rid of your man and get him off his, but when he met with us, he says, really like how you do business. I like your approach, and it took us about 6 months to win that account after that, but we did win it, and we retained it recently. They went out to tender again about a year ago, and they didn't expect us to win it the second time around because they felt that they wouldn't have had the capability. They're moving up to a bigger level. We did win it, and we're very proud of that. It's very important for us to win it, but we did. So they're with us now for 5 years, and they'll be with us for the next 3 at least. But they're a collection of the 10 of the top 30 hotels in the world, and having them as a client is a huge endorsement of our business. So that was a key factor in that. Hotels like Hotel Deli Europe and Hotel Hassler came to us through that relationship. And I remember I was with Trina in Amsterdam, and it's only happened 2 or 3 times, but this is the very first time I was there presenting to them, and I felt something was not working right in this. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? And then I realised about 10 minutes into the meeting, he's selling to me. I've never had that before, up to that point. He wants us because we look after the Dorchester, and they've judged the hotel in Paris, the La Maurice, as being the top hotel that they wanted to replicate, and they were trying to get all the suppliers from Maurice because they were going through a refurbishment, and they wanted to get that standard. So I've never had that before, but that came through that Dorchester collection, being part of that and having their endorsement was hugely important for us. I'm going to touch on 5-Star London as well, which is sort of spun off that to some degree, but the revenue manager in Dorchester mentioned to me one time, he said that he felt that how the internet is presenting the luxury market is incorrect. It's not, because the Dorchester's average rate is about just under £1,000 a night. It's huge, and most other hotels are maybe, even in 5-star, maybe £300 a night. And there's about 10 or 12 hotels that are in that sort of category. And if you go through the intermediary websites like bookings.com, you'll see them all the same. They're all just mixed up by price. They don't really give you enough information to the really high-end luxury consumer. And it's similar to jewellery, etc. They don't have anything. So he said, would it be possible to set something up that will just highlight the top end of the luxury market in London and build a website around it and get them about 10 or 12 of the hotels together, and then a select number of brands through all the different sectors. So we looked at it, and the opportunity was there, and we started working on it about 2 years ago, a little bit over, and we've got 150 clients in that now. All the top brands, not just in the UK but in the world, Mulberry, Fortnum & Mason, Lock & Co, Berry Brothers Winery, Garrard Jewellers. I could go through them all. I mean, they're just brilliant brands. And it's the start. We haven't really exploited that as a network yet. We're just working with them on this project. They pay about £1,000 a year. And the important thing from them is as much the network we've created. It hasn't happened before. Nothing like this is done in London. We couldn't believe this opportunity was presented to us. And they don't care where we are or where we're from. The endorsement we got from the hotels was so strong that they went with it. And now we've got 150 of these brands together. The network, we set events every 3 to 4 months, networking among themselves. They don't have the time even to know who it is. We know now these people, and they come to us to say, if I'm coming to London, what do I do? Where do I get my guests to stay? What chocolatier should they visit, etc., etc. We can answer all that for them. That's as important to them as what the website is bringing in. We have 50,000 visitors a month now on that website. It's just 18 months old. And the plan will be to roll this out into New York and Paris. And a lot of these, our current partners, have either their own office there or their own hotel there, or they have relationships there. So that has created an opportunity by just being in that space, So hopefully it'll get into open up other things for us. The last phase now. So that's those years were we still didn't have a full-time base in London up till the start of this year. So the start of this year, then we felt that we were in a position now where we could push it a little bit further. And now it's a different dynamic because we have a proper sales office in London with 4 people there. Our sales and marketing director is now located there, and she's a person that worked as a client of ours in a hotel called the Hempel, which closed at the end of last year, sold now as a luxury property. And we'd worked with her for 2.5 years, 15 years experience. So we approached her to see if she'd be interested in joining us, and she has. And that's great because that's taken her. She's a very good network, and that's working well for us. Beginning to start doing that. So we have 4 people now in London. 2 people moved from Galway to London, and they were moving anyway. So it was great to have the office in London for them to continue the relationship. A designer and a marketing person, and we've the one person with 5-star London, and Sabine then working sales and marketing. So that has taken a lot of the pressure off me in terms of travelling, certainly. But it's a base now that you can have a lot more confidence about pitching yourself. But it took us 12 years to set up a base with 4 people there. That now enables us to do a lot more. We've greatly improved the branding on our website, all our literature, etc. Raised the bar. We've actually got our website now. We've built it as we would envisage our clients' website to look like, not an internet company, but it's more hotel. And we got an inquiry over the summer for someone who loved our hotel in Connemara and they wanted to stay there. I thought that was funny. So the continuing the warm leads aspect of it, now we're starting to do, because I'm not as much out on the cold face chasing business as much now, I have more time to look at going to more events, doing more talks, doing that sort of it. So getting the brand out there and building the network a little bit more. So it's that the focus has now shifted a little bit more to the mainstream or the conventional type of sales and marketing, which we just wouldn't have been able to do up until this point. So I think that's the timer telling me I'm done. So it just coincides, I think, appropriately with that. So if that's just our story. I hope you found it of use to you. So if anybody has any questions or